Well, joining us now to break it all down is Fox Business contributor Phil Flynn. Phil, so great to have you. No one else better to talk to about oil and gas and all the ramifications that we're seeing. So interesting to hear President Trump right there say, we're going to go in, we need to get access to the oil. But we also heard from Secretary Rubio, and we played the soundbite at the top of the show that said, listen, all of this action to take Maduro into custody was not about oil. The United States does not need Venezuela's oil. So how do you see kind of Venezuela's oil supply kind of playing in to what is unfolding at the moment? Does the U.S. need the oil?
Well, I think the world needs the oil, Lydia, maybe not the U.S., but the Venezuelan people need this oil to be pumping. They've got to rebuild their economy. The Venezuelan people realize that their economy is based on how well their energy industry is done. And they realize that when the Chavez regime came in and the Maduro regime and ransacked the industry, their standard of living collapsed and these people are suffering. So the world needs the oil. Venezuela needs the oil. Now, from a bigger picture, I think what Secretary Rubio is saying is right. The U.S. produces a lot of oil, but make no mistake about it. A stable Venezuela is good for America, and it's good for the global oil market as well.
Phil, Venezuela's nationalized its oil resources in recent memory. And if you're a U.S. company and you're sort of thinking now about going back and restarting something, how much do you get concerned that, well, maybe under the Trump administration we could get some work done, but who knows what the future holds? And do we want to put that kind of capital at risk again in a country with a history of stealing that property?
Well, I think it's a great question, Brian, but I think under Trump, there's a new sheriff in town, right? And who knows how the next election cycle is going to go. But, we're very optimistic that the U.S. energy companies are going to see this tremendous opportunity. Not just for oil. We're talking about mining companies for gold and rare earth minerals that the world is going to need desperately, and rebuilding that economy. And the potential upside for a lot of these companies is going to be beyond compare, right? We're talking about a new industrial revolution in our hemisphere. Very similar to where China was in 1999. Their economy collapsed. They had more bikes and cars. Everybody thought they were decades away from growing. But then with the right kind of capitalistic spirits unleashed, they were able to build that, 7 Chicagos in a period of a few months. So I think the opportunity for these companies is going to outweigh the risk.
And Phil, I was reading that it's almost 80% of Venezuela's oil was going to China, one of our adversaries.
Right.
So if the U.S. is going to get closer to Venezuela and oil production in Venezuela, what does that do to China and their energy needs?
Well, they're going to have to be nicer to us, aren't they, or to the world? Yeah. Listen, we want to sell them oil, right? China, you need oil. You're the biggest consumer in the world, but let us sell it to you. We'd rather have you buy it from U.S. oil companies rather than Russia, right? And India the same way. There's a shortage of the type of oil that Venezuela produces in the world, that heavier oil. A lot of countries need it. The U.S. can't produce it all on their own. And so this is, for every barrel that we can get Venezuela to produce, that's one less barrel that Russia is going to be able to sell.
Bill, how fast can Venezuela ramp up? I've seen numbers thrown around like you'd have to invest $100 billion to get Venezuela to 4 million barrels a day of oil. I think some folks saw the news about Venezuela and thought, oh my gosh, this could impact gas prices in a really beneficial way this year. Is that even remotely possible, Phil?
I think it is.
Okay.
Don't underestimate the ability of the U.S. energy industry under the right conditions to astound everybody. Look at, if you talk about what happened just a few months ago, right? Venezuelan oil production fell to 600,000 barrels a day, 500,000 barrels a day. Chevron was able to go in there in a few months. They were able to raise it by 300,000 barrels a day. So I think you can see some incremental increases in a very short period of time. Now, these larger projects, they're going to take time. But you know what? If the U.S. energy industry is unleashed, and they allow them, and the government is out of the way. You're not dealing with a government-run entity, but an entity that's saying, come in here, invest, this is like the Manhattan Project for Venezuela, I think you're going to astound people how quickly things can come back. So there's a lot of pessimism out there. I'm optimistic, but I think the U.S. energy industry, don't bet against them beating the odds. I would take the under or the over.
We'll take whatever's favorable to the United States, Phil. Good analysis. Always good to see you. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, Phil.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
All right.